just before I start, I want you to know that I come to every debate to win my worldview over. So I am here to win. I hope you don't take anything personally as we get into the debate, even if it gets heated. That's what a debate is there for. So um, I just want to kind of give you a forewarning here. It's nothing
Perfectly fine,
personal, but I am
actually.
here to debate.
Best factor.
hmm Like, do you
Um,
think that men genuinely, generally, men do not want to date prostitutes?
I would say generally speaking, yes.
Yeah, why? Why do you think that is?
Well, prostitution is, in my opinion, the lowest denominator for promiscuity for women because at that point, they're selling their body for money. Now, I've had this argument before like, what's the difference between a prostitute who's out here, having sex and doing whatever for money versus a woman who just gives it out for free? A woman who gives it out for free, like, yeah, hey, that's pretty bad. She's
Actually, this comes to my point. Assume for a second that you had a prostitute who had slept with 100 Johns versus a woman who had just slept with 100 men willingly. She was never paid by any of them. Do you consider them equally disgusting?
I would still consider the prostitute more disgusting.
You'd still consider her a little bit lower, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know what you would base that on. It's a kind of a natural disgust factor that you would have.
Well, I think anyone selling their values and morals in
hmm
exchange for currency is a very low denominator.
Okay. But you would also find it to be disgusting that a woman had sex with 100 men as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you would find that to be disgusting. Why would you find that to be disgusting?
Well, this goes back to my point that sex for a woman is easy, right?
hmm
And anything in life that is valued is hard to get. So that's why we value women with low body counts. That's why we value virgins, even because that is extremely rare and it's hard to find. Whereas it's the opposite for men. Now, again, I know
Well, let's wait. That doesn't make any sense. So let's back up. So it is true that finding a virgin in today's age is probably rather difficult in the United States. It's somewhere around, I think, 3 to 5% who get married as virgins in the United States. Very, very low. So I would agree that that's true. But let us assume for a second that 80% of women were virgins in the United States. Wouldn't the 20% who are not still be devalued?
that's not a real statistic, though,
Yeah,
is it?
but it's a real statistic in other nations, like Muslim nations, let's say. Wouldn't the women still be devalued? Hypothetically, let's assume here in the United States, 80% of women were virgins. Wouldn't 20% of women still not be as valuable as the virgins?
The 20% of
Yeah.
promiscuous
Yeah.
chicks, no, they'd be still on the lower echelon.
They'd still be on the lower echelon. So your argument to say that the reason that we value chastity is due to its rarity can't be true. Because if we were to flip the script and show that chastity was the order of the day, then the promiscuous women still would be undervalued in comparison to the chaste women. So it must be something different than rarity, James.
Of
Yeah.
promiscuous
Yeah.
chicks, no, they'd be still on the lower echelon.
They'd still be on the lower echelon. So your argument to say that the reason that we value chastity is due to its rarity can't be true. Because if we were to flip the script and show that chastity was the order of the day, then the promiscuous women still would be undervalued in comparison to the chaste women. So it must be something different than rarity, James. Still be on the lower echelon. So your argument to say that the reason that we value chastity is due to its rarity can't be true. Because if we were to flip the script and show that chastity was the order of the day, then the promiscuous women still would be undervalued in comparison to the chaste women. So it must be something different than rarity, James.
No, it still goes down to it being easy for women to have sex, where it's hard for men to have sex. Now, when you're
Yeah, I
talking
don't think that that's what it is. I
about
think that
Muslim countries, like,
yeah,
hey, that's where
I don't
religion.
think that's why we don't value it. There's some kind of disgust factor which is happening when it comes to women who have a large body count. It's you're not just put off by it, you're disgusted by it, James. Otherwise, why wouldn't you fuck them? We're going to look at it from an evolutionary kind of worldview, would be that women who are promiscuous would probably be far more likely to nest you up with a kid that was not yours, thus actually cucking you, right? They sleep with someone, you raise the kid as yours, not knowing that that child was yours. So that would make sense, right? Of law 8 for the laws of power.
I don't have them memorized.
Make your opponent come to you. When you force others to act, you're in control. Bait them, then attack. The thing is interesting about this particular law of power, especially if you look at the pickup artist community, is that the people who you would be attracting to you are who would be coming to you to learn whatever these skills are that you're teaching, generally speaking, are not going to be highly charismatic, highly attractive men. The reason that they're not going to be those things is because if they were, they wouldn't fucking need you to begin with, right? They don't need your help if they're already charismatic. They don't need your help if they're already attractive. They've already had tons of female attention their entire life if they have both of those features, or even one of those features. If they're highly attractive and have no charisma, they get female attention. If they have a lot of charisma, they're not attractive at all, they still get female attention. These things are still intrinsic values: charisma, good looks, things like this. So they're coming to you to learn, right? What are they trying to learn how to do? What are they trying to learn from you? Aren't they mostly trying to learn from you how to pork chicks? I think I can concede that most men want a female who's a mate in some capacity, and that most men desire sexual intercourse, absolutely, and most women do too. So I would agree that those are things which human beings desire. But I think that this sidesteps my point, which is that charisma.
Well, I had a follow-up.
Yeah. Well, but I'm just going to restate this so that we don't get past it. Charisma and good looks, you're born with those things. They're not taught. I can't teach you to be better looking. Okay, I can't do it. I can't teach you to be more charismatic. You either are charismatic or you're not charismatic. You either are good looking or you're not good looking. Okay, you can do some things about looks. They call it looks maxing, right? Like, I don't know, taking a shower and growing a beard. There's various things you can do which can help maybe make you slightly more attractive. But these jumps and gains are not enormous for most men. Let's face it, they aren't. And when it comes to charisma, you really can't teach that at all. There is no replacement for charisma. You either got it or you don't. So the thing is what are these men coming to you for? What are they coming to you for?
Is every man needs to develop himself to be the best individual he could possibly be. He needs to be strong. He needs to be smart. He needs to have life experience. He needs to have
what? For what? What's the end? What is the end that you're teaching them? What is it for? Great. You have the Bugatti. You got the money. You got the necktie. You got all this shit. You got all this stuff. You got all the business. You got all the riz. What are you using it for, man?
You know, it's like, if you're going to just only fuck chicks, then, hey, you know what? So that's on you. Like, then you can label them as a scumbag. But I would.
But that's what you're doing, bro. What I'm saying to you is the entailment of what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to show you how to improve yourself to such a degree that you can get whatever chick you want. The end. So in other words, the end for why you're giving them these means, the means of self-improvement, the means of getting in great shape, the means of doing all these things is for the end of being able to hump the chick you want to hump.
Reality of the world that we live in today. So maybe you start dating, right? Eventually you're going to have sex. If it works out, then cool. That guy will be her last body. Unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And then, yeah, that's another tab on the girl's belt.
Yeah, but this is the problem, right? I've not made a single religious argument. I'm actually making a secular argument to you. The secular argument that I'm making to you is absent religion, okay? You yourself do not want women who have a high body count, correct?
Correct.
Okay. But if you create a huge posse of men who utilize what you're teaching to become more sexually successful with women, they're going to increase those women's body count. Thus, the high value man, which I'm sure you would consider yourself to be, is never going to marry those women. So you're setting that. So I'm not saying that women don't deserve any accountability. Nobody holds them more accountable than me. But that doesn't mean you don't deserve any accountability either. And what you're doing here, the entailment of this is that they go out, They're going to take what they've learned, and they're going to hump chicks with it. We know this because most of your clients are not successful sexually with women. They're coming to you so that they can become sexually successful with women. Once they become sexually successful with women, they probably need to rack up X amount of body count to learn female nature. That's the core of Myron's argument. So if that's true, you are necessarily devaluing them from your worldview. What I don't understand is how you don't see that as being bad.
Find a good quality woman that they're going to be able to, of course, sleep with, because that comes with the territory of dating, but ideally have a long-term relationship. Now, if that relationship doesn't work out for whatever reason, that's just the way of life. There's give and take in this world, yin and yang. And ideally, a woman that I'm going to be looking for with a low body count, she's going to be dating good quality men that have learned something from me, treated her well, and actually, prevented them from being taken advantage from a lot of other guys.
Let's go down another road here. Let's start with the idea that women are the gatekeepers of sex. This is a point you and I agree on, right? Women are the gatekeepers of sex. This is true. But let's assume for a second that I could take the knowledge in your brain. I could suck the knowledge out of your brain. And part of this knowledge is the understanding that the more men a woman sleeps with, the more likely she's going to end up being a cat lady and very lonely in her elder years and a screeching feminist lunatic because men don't value her anymore because they found out that she sucked 30 dicks behind a fucking dumpster at an Arby's, right? They don't value her anymore. They don't want anything to do with her anymore. I could suck that information out of your head and I can put it directly into a woman's brain. Do you think that she would change her idea of just having sex for fun if she knew that that would be the outcome?
Women on the whatever podcasts, etc. I feel like a lot of them actually came to the understanding like, oh, wow, what I'm doing to myself is going to overall hurt me for a long-term partner.
So this, right, exactly. So this should tell you that they don't know from their perspective, from the average woman's perspective, and think about it. It actually makes sense. It's the one logical thing that they tend to do that makes sense to me. They say, well, wait a second. Why can you go hump 30 women and nobody gives a shit? But if I go hump 30 men, all the men care, right? Why is that? They think that that's silly. It makes no sense to them, right? The reason it makes no sense to them is because they're not men. There's an ontological difference between men and women. The way that we view things is totally and completely different, right? At our core. Since that's true, and you know that if they knew this information, they weren't just looking at it from their fucking feminist women study thing, which says if men can go sleep with, as many women as they want, you should be able to sleep with as many men as you want. They just look at it as an outcomes base, which is how human beings usually do things. But if they knew that information, they wouldn't do it. So aren't you kind of keeping that away from them? Like, you're not teaching your students, in other words, to tell these women, listen, if you fuck me, that's actually going to be bad for you long term, because the next guy, if he finds out about it, it's going to like you a lot less than if you didn't fuck him.
Maybe some men will use my program to go off and fuck a bunch of chicks, but that's not within my teachings.
What is the end?
Just like how the Marine Corps teaches men how to kill others. The Marines in our history that have been mass shooters.
This is actually, hang on. This is actually a perfect point. Let's dive into this. The Marine Corps instills you with a sense of discipline so that you can follow orders. The orders could be to pluck grass on your base. It could be to lift a heavy shell. It could be to walk around with your gun above your head saying, I'm sorry. It could be any number of different things, but you're taught to follow orders, right? Above and beyond, you have to follow your general orders, right? That's more than anything else. Your job as a Marine, your job is to follow orders more than anything, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And what are the ends of those orders, though?
One second, Andrew. It is also taught to follow orders under the guise of the ethics of the establishment. So we're probably going to get way off topic.
No, we're not going to get off topic. Okay. The reason that they want you to follow orders specifically is so that in any given situation, when they give you the order to do what, you do it. What is the thing? They want you to follow orders above and beyond all other things. What is the actual end of all of your training? Everything that you're taught to do is to assist in the killing of the enemies of the United States by any means necessary. Your job as an order follower is so that when they give you the order to kill, you fucking do it, right? That's the point, isn't it?
Use it to just go bang chicks for the rest of your life and never settle down.
So you're saying that most of your clients come to you because they want to find a wife?
Some of them may do, but overall,
yeah, some of them may do, but do most of them come to you because they want to find a wife, or do they come to you because they want to learn how to hump chicks and they think that you can help them do that?
Andrew, but what I can tell you is
wait, why can't you tell me that? Why can't you tell me that? Like,
because
you know their motivations far better than I do.
I don't know every single person's true motivations, but I do realize that every single man in general, again, most of my clients too, they have the intent to be able to actually have somebody to be their long-term girlfriend or wife eventually.
And in order to do this, do you recommend that they probably have to sleep with at least a few women in order to understand female nature better?
I think that's going to end up coming with the territory.
Okay, so an entailment of what you're teaching them, the territory, as it were, is that they're going to end up sleeping with chicks.
Yeah.
And that one didn't work either, but I'm still looking for Mrs. Right. Now he's on 21. You going to drop him as a client? You going to drop him on a class? Yeah, right. It happens, right?
The world, brother.
Yeah, you don't care, right? Like, ultimately, I guess what I just want to hear from you is that you honestly don't care very much. Like, you just don't care. It's okay. Like, if it is something which pulls up the ladder for other men, or it devalues the women themselves, or your program leads to more promiscuity in society, not less, that you don't really fucking care ultimately.
Well, it's not that I don't care, but I'm also a bit of a realist. Now, in an ideal world, wouldn't it be so utterly wonderful if people can conform to, let's say, Christianity? I myself am not a Christian, but I do, really value rules of religion, not just Christians, but Muslims alike. I feel like it does set a good moral foundation, and maybe if more people in our society were serious about being a Christian, then we'd have a lot less promiscuity in general. But the reality of the world.
So doesn't it sound like the prescription is to make people Christians?
Hey, maybe so.
Doesn't that sound like that would be the doesn't that sound like that would be the prescription then?
It wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but is that going to happen? No. It
won't happen if you're kind of defeating your own worldview of saying best thing we could do is make people Christians because that would make the world a better place. While at the same time, I'm showing men how to go out and bang chicks, and if they bang chicks, right, we're now going to pull up the ladder for the next group of guys. Don't want to marry them because they're all hoes, right? It seems like the world. It seems like you're kind of counter to the world you wish you had. We're talking about a few. Hang on. Let me finish my point.
Let him finish. 5 seconds, Andrew. Then James.
We're talking about a few decades, bro. Uh-oh.
You killed him for this.
Okay, here we go. It looks good now. Looks great now, man. So I don't know what happened, but anyway, I'll give you the closing real quick so that you understand. There's various entailments here that we were able to get to. Ultimately, in your ideology, right, there's a movement towards you understand that virtue is good, honor is good, the nuclear family is good, all these things are good. But what you've done is you've embraced the world. And by doing that, what you say is, as a survival strategy and mating strategy for those of you who can afford it, I will show you how you can get the woman of your dreams, or some variants thereof. Okay, I'm paraphrasing all of this. Entailed in that, though, is that you understand that these men are going to be out plowing these chicks, and that for every single chick plowed, that is one more devaluation for her in the sexual marketplace, whereas it's one more value added step for the male. This is a case use of a person who is willing to use other people for their own gain. I consider that to be, quote, evil or bad. And so the entailment is we look at the arch. What are the ends? What is it that the end of this is for? It's to get the woman that you want. Circling back, we're going to teach you how to get the woman you want. An entailment of this is that you're going to be sleeping with other women, though, which then, if we move it forward, is going to be the exact type of woman you don't want. If we agree that women are the gatekeepers of sex and that they don't seem to understand that men have that value, they just look at it from an equality standpoint of, I can sleep with just as many men as you sleep with women, and that seems totally fair, then what you've done is you've kind of hoodwinked them a bit, haven't you? You've kind of shown that ultimately your ideology is completely vacant, that it's just designed for self. That's it. Just completely self-centered and selfish. It's completely and totally uncaring towards the amount of damage and carnage which is done on your road to create this supposed high value man, which I don't even consider to be high value, by the way. But I guess we have a difference of opinion there as well. And so ultimately, I just want you to see the entailment that this society that is perpetuated by your ideology is the exact one you think is horrible to live in. It's the exact one that you think is the opposite of what we should have, which is virtuous family values done around a nuclear family. All of those things as an entailment of what it is that you're doing is in opposition to that. I don't understand how you can say on the one hand, these are the virtues society should be moving towards, while on the other hand say, but if there's a sexual revolution and women become promiscuous, that's cool, man, because I like to fuck them, right? Because I like to fuck these chicks. So it's cool. But if you look at the ultimate big picture, there's no way to determine that this is not a completely selfish and self-centered ideology. And it should, I would think that you would want people to avoid that. It just seems awful to me ultimately. But I do appreciate the debate. When I say the word coomer, I need you to understand that all I mean by coomer is the same thing I mean by degenerate, which just means without morals, or without sexual morals, that's what it means, right? That's what degenerate means. It just means coomer. They're synonymous.
It just means you're a cad worthy of the pit.
Well, that's all it means. It just means without morals, absent morals. And of course, if you have a differing set of morals in mind, I think you're absent those. So that would make you a degenerate by default. It's not a personal attack. It's just the way that I phrase words. When it comes to cooming, it's the same thing. I don't mind that you're out teaching men how to have great businesses and these types of things, and how to do self-improvement, how to work out better and this and that. But the entailment of well, I know you're going to coom though, bro. That seems to be completely counterproductive to the end result of the society you want to see. And that's what I'd like to see you move away from. That's all I'm saying. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate the debate. It was very spirited and interesting. With that, I'll yield my time. You. Oh,
I got it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go.
I was trying to be quiet in the background. James, first of all, I got to say, man, you look so, I really expected you to burst into a David. What's that? Can't think of the guy's name now. It doesn't matter. I expect you to burst in the song. You look great, man. I got to be honest. I like the outfit, the haircut, everything. Awesome of you to part your hair the same as President Sunday to in a show of solidarity.
That's just a demonstration of good taste.
Right. Absolutely. Glad you came on tonight.
In Crucible Land. Have a wonderful night.